Charley Casserly joins us on the Mattress Warehouse Hotline. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, men. You're all over the place.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
are.
are.
We are. How's life for you?
Round Hill.
Life is good. Everything's good. We're doing fine, thank you. Family's safe and healthy, so we're doing great.
Who's quarantined in your home?
Well, my wife and I, we've kind of self-quarantined, so we go out for essentials and that's it. So and don't go out very often. So big deal. We might go out for a ride in the car or something like that, but that's fine.
And you've done a lot of live shots for quite a while from home, right? So it hasn't really affected your work life that much.
No, it did. It went through last Wednesday, and then the network has scaled back as they're coming up with some creative ways to program like everybody else is.
Right.
So this is kind of a slower period for me anyway. And once we hit April, then the draft shows are scheduled to be on. Now we'll have to see how that goes, but they're working on ways to get it done.
What's your vibe on the draft, Charlie? Do you think it's going to happen the last weekend of April, or will that be pushed back?
The league's saying they're going to do it, and I came into the league at a time when and got trained by people. We drafted players without physicals. We drafted players that didn't interview. It didn't work out. So there's a way to do this thing, and the way to do it, and if you're equipped, it's not the best situation now. It's not ideal. But your area scouts, if you have good area scouts, they're going to know the history of these players. And then, they'll know the guys that haven't had any injuries, that didn't go to the combine, the guys that should be healthy, and you're going to assume they're clean. Now, you might make some mistakes, but you won't make as many as you think if you've got good area scouts. Now, if you're going to rely upon starting your draft preparation in January and rely upon the combine in the spring, you're going to be behind other teams.
Charlie, how do you think it's going to work as far as dynamics war room-wise when the draft eventually does happen? Because we always see these shots of the war room. There's a dozen people. There might be 20 people in a room. We're trying to keep people apart. Is it going to be kind of like the way we're doing the radio show? Everybody's kind of remote, or you have a group of 3 or 4 in one room, 3 or 4 in a different – how do you think that's going to work?
Well, again, if we're doing it today, the league has shut down all the offices.
Right.
It's basically all done over the phone. Everything else is for show.
Right.
You don't need television cameras to run the draft. So you're going to have some coordination back to your office. You're going to have meetings to set up the draft board. So you're going to have a draft board. That can be done electronically. It's going to be on a computer. Everybody can see that. But you will have to have some way to communicate with the people as far as, making trades. Who's going to make the trades? How are you going to communicate to the person on the phone with the trades? So ideally, and again, we've got a month to get this hopefully settled down some in the country, to have some people in a central location. It'll be complicated. You may have to stretch the time allowed for the picks to be able to give people some time to make a trade, have some discussion. So, and can you do that? Sure. I mean, you're spreading this thing over 3 days. So lengthening rounds, time in rounds shouldn't be an issue.
All right, so what do you think of, excuse me, what do you think of some of these moves that Rivera and the Skins have made? Let's start with Kyle Allen as the backup quarterback. They trade a 5th rounder for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. You need a backup quarterback. Case Keenum was the best one available. Of a guy, well, I'm not counting the Jameis Winstons or Cam Newton, see, and he wasn't going to come back, so he ended up in a good spot with Cleveland with his old coaches there. Colt McCoy wasn't going to come back, so he ends up in the Giants. That's a good spot for him. So getting Kyle Allen, the guy's got some experience, started most of last year. The guy's got talent. He's got throwing ability. He's got movement. Seems to be a smart guy. Turnovers were a big problem last year. Now, sometimes that's just experience growing out of it. We'll see about that. He'll know the system, so that's a positive. I don't think he's proved to me he's a starting quarterback in the league, but he definitely can come in and play and be a model on learning the system, which you could have a situation here, and this isn't reflective of Dwayne, but you don't know how much startup time we're going to have on this thing. And having somebody who knows what the coach wants to do, that can be an advantage. But, I mean, Dwayne is clearly the better player.
Well, it's also a huge disadvantage to a young player like Dwayne. I'm assuming they've got some sort of playbook that they've somehow got to him, and maybe they're doing some sort of like Zoom meeting or something. But he's not going to get the field reps, right? I mean, he desperately needs them. Not only is he learning a new system, these field reps. He can go out and throw out to high school receivers all he wants, Charlie, but that's not anything like what he needs to be doing.
No, and every team's faced the same situation, except, as you're pointing out correctly, you have a quarterback, first year in the system, second year in the league. You know, that he's going to be at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And, you know, how fast him and the team can get together. It's a two-way street now. The coaches have to decide, okay, what do we think he can handle and what do we think we can go play with in the games and adapt that way. Now, again, if you're playing experienced defenses in the beginning that need less practice time, then that's going to be an advantage for them. But the way it was set up anyway, I thought it was October before teams hit their stride. So September was more of a feel-out month in the old system. In whatever system we have, not sure when the teams will hit their stride.
Joined by Charley Casserly, former Redskins and Texans GM, now analyst for the NFL Network. It's a crowded running back room for the Redskins. They bring in Peyton Barber. They add J.D. McKissick to a room already with Geis and, of course, with Adrian Peterson. They're waiting on Bryce Love. How do you see that shaking out with the new bodies there in that running back room, Charlie?
Hard to get carries in preseason, however long preseason will be. If AP's healthy, you got to figure that you open up with him or Geis, one of those two. They're the best two backs. And we know what Geis's issue is staying healthy. AP is a year-to-year. Well, let's find out where he is. Barber's a good, steady back. McKissick's kind of a third-down, change-of-pace guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with signing him. But some of this might be, hey, go play him. We'll figure it out. It's opening day. But the Geis and AP, I mean, those are the two best backs of that group.
So just league-wide, Charlie, off the top of your head, what teams are really help themselves out in free agency in your mind?
Well, there's a lot of teams, but the two that I've dwelled on is Miami and Cleveland. And they're not the only two, but those are the two I dwelled on. Now, Cleveland, I look at it this way. It's clear the head coach and the general manager had a plan on the same page, and they were able to execute the plan. Getting Austin Hooper a tight end, that fills a void for him right there. Getting Conklin at the right tackle, that fills a void for him. It opens it up in the draft to get a left tackle, and all of a sudden they got their offensive line fixed. So, those are some things that, when I look at them, they get the backup quarterback, Keenum, who knows the system. He could be a good training person for Baker Mayfield. And then the other team, to me, and again, there's many teams, but the Dolphins, again, they have a plan. When you watch what they've done on defense, what did they do? They went out there and got a corner in Byron Jones. So that gives them two corners that they can line up and start with Xavier Howard. Then on the defensive line, not big names, but they fill the right role. Shaq Lawson's a defensive end. Kyle Van Noy can play end and linebacker, and Emmanuel Ogbach can play end. They've got two ends there, however they line up, who can set the edge and stop the run, and they've got good defensive tackles. So now they can stop the run. They got two, in a sense, shutdown corners. Now all of a sudden they got the basis of a defense.
Charlie, do you think that the Dolphins will be able to stay at 5, keep their first-round picks, and still get Tua, or will they have to move up?
The Chargers are the team I don't know. Carolina solved their issue at quarterback, so that's not going to be a problem for them. They're not going to move up.
What about Jacksonville? They got 9 and 20.
Yeah, Jacksonville, you've got to look at them. They may have to. I mean, it's a guess. Mm-hmm. It's a guess, which is we're all guessing here. But to be safe, you move up and you get them. Now, I don't think the Redskins would trade back. Now, they might. I mean, the Redskins have to make a decision. Do we want Chase Young or do we want a tackle? And we could move back and get a tackle. We can't move back and get Chase Young. Detroit take him.
Right.
What would Charley Casserly do?
Yeah, what would you do?
Take Chase Young. So let me say this. There'll be a lot of thought in that because they need a tackle, and there's some good tackles. And it's like when we took Mario Williams with the first pick, we didn't consider Dick DeBrickashaw Ferguson. But DeBrickashaw Ferguson played 10 years or so and had a hell of a career. So you're kind of in the same boat here. There's a difference, but those tackles are pretty good. So if they took a tackle at 2, I wouldn't second-guess them. If they move back and take a tackle, I wouldn't second-guess them because they don't have a solution at tackle right now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your mock draft from a couple days ago, and you got Burrow going 1, obviously there. You got Chase Young 2, Okudah going 3 to the Lions, and then you got the Giants taking the tackle out of Louisville. You've been talking about this kid. He's 6'7", 360 pounds, Mekhi Becton. And then you've got the Dolphins sitting there at 5 taking Tua, with the Chargers taking Herbert at 6.
Right.
Yeah. Any thoughts on those 6 picks there?
Well, again, I decided not to put trades in, and maybe I'll put trades in next time because it's fantasy football and you can do anything you want. But yeah, you can argue that the Chargers would move up. The question is at what price. They like Tyrod Taylor. I think they can win with him, but they know they need a young quarterback. If they like Herbert, why give up something that's important? We'll take Herbert. We know he's our fallback in that situation. So, that's kind of the thought process you have to go through. Tua, to me, is clearly better than Herbert, though, in my opinion.
Did you like the Niners trade, the Buckner trade to acquire the 13th pick?
Yeah, because here's the thing. They couldn't sign Armstead and Buckner. And I don't know what Buckner wanted, but he might have wanted more than Armstead. Armstead is a 2-position guy, not as good as Buckner as an inside guy, but he can set the edge on the outside. He can give you some nickel rush inside. You can put Ford outside. And you got a chance there to line up and still be pretty good. So I understand it because if they let Buckner go at some point, they'd get a 3rd-round pick 2 years later in a supplemental situation. Unless those rules have changed for that. So it was a good move. You're not going to be as good, but you got a 1st-round pick, so that's pretty good.
Talking to Charley Casserly, former Redskins and Texans GM, now an analyst on the NFL Network. All right, going to play the Charley just quick answer game, all right? Who
Sure.
wins more games, Bill Belichick in New England or Tom Brady in Tampa?
Tom Brady in Tampa.
Ooh.
5.5 wins. Would you go over or under for the Washington Redskins in 2020?
Over.
Over. Nice.
16 games. Will Dwayne Haskins start 16 games for the Washington Redskins?
No.
Is that based off injury or performance?
Injury.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's
It's hard to start every game now.
Yeah, it's a little different, right.
Right.
By the way, what if New England went out and got Cam Newton or Jameis? Do you still like Tom Brady and the Bucs over them in terms of total wins?
Charlie?
No, I think that I'm still going to pick. Well, that's tough now.
I mean, do you think Belichick sits there with Jarrett Stidham, or do you think he goes out and gets one of those 2 guys?
No, he's set now, quarterback. Boyer and Stidham. Financially, cap-wise, yeah.
All right.
That's what they're going to do.
And that was
From
the
what I
plan,
gather.
you think?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Dalton. I guess Dalton's salary bothers people, and I guess maybe they can't fit it in or something. But I mean, they would have made room for Brady if they wanted him.
Right.
So I think that was a marriage that New England decided to move on to. Belichick decided to move on from. That's my gut.
Right.
What team fits right now for Cam Newton?
It's a hard one. The Chargers, but they're not interested. They're interested in Tyrod Taylor. I haven't spent a lot of time on this one, to be honest with you. But Jacksonville, I guess, if they wanted to.
Yeah.
If somebody needs a quarterback, you can bring Cam in. You have to assume Cam is not the Cam Newton that was the MVP. The running part, I don't think's there. He didn't want to run anymore. Now maybe he will, and if he can run, then you got a chance. If he doesn't want to run, not so sure you have a chance. Winston, it's throw to throw. It's 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns.
Right.
He's had a lot of good coaching, and nobody's coached him out of the bad decisions yet.
Right.
All right,
No, that's
Charlie.
usually baked into their DNA, you know?
Can't start.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. We appreciate it, buddy. We'll do it more often. Stay safe.
Thanks for the
All
time.
right, good to be with you guys.
Yep.
All right, Pat.
Only essential trips out of the house.
That's right.
That's what you should be doing. Follow Charlie's lead.